Y'all should know good and doggone well that if there is a new Dexter series, we talking about it here. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. Dexter Resurrection is here. I feel like I have done 3 Dexter series. Yeah. New Blood, the Origins series, and now Resurrection. We are back. Dexter is the gift that keeps on giving to this channel. And honestly, parts of New Blood I did not like, but for the most part, Dexter Origin was great. And so I am now got my sort of satiation, thirst, bloodlust. I have got my Dark Passenger back on for Dexter, and I am excited to see what we get with this new series, which quite honestly is it's like a season 2 of New Blood. Even though they're not calling it the same title, it picks up directly after the events of New Blood. And I will say that if you had not seen that, if you're coming into this after watching the original series and missing New Blood, you're going to have a lot of question marks. And they do a pretty decent recap at the very beginning of the show, but it is still there are a lot of holes you would have to fill in to try to understand what it is that you're watching. But let's jump in. First 2 episodes of the Dexter Resurrection are here. One of them, first episode's called Beating Heart, and the second is called Camera Shy. For Beating Heart, it's called that because that's what they get. They get a heartbeat after Dexter is left to die in the middle of the snow after Harrison shoots him. Dexter, aka Jim Lindsay, that was the name that he sort of went by as he was in hiding in New Blood. Because he was on ice and because it was snow, it slowed his heartbeat enough that his blood did not pour out as it would have normally if it was a hot day. And so because of that, the hospital was able to keep him alive and put him in a coma. He was in a coma for quite some time. So we pick up 10 weeks later after that shooting, after Harrison flees, after all that good stuff. And Dex is seeing visions in his coma. We run through the gamut, the history of Dexter in this, and we see Trinity Killer talking to him, and they each sort of have a reason why they have a conversation with him. Trinity Killer comes and talks to him and sort of said, "Where you went wrong is you tried to have a family and a Dark Passenger, and you need to sort of pick one. You can't have both. You know who you really are. You are like a bad man. You are a Dark Passenger through and through, and trying to be a family man and a Dark Passenger put you in this path where you became sort of open to weakness." And then he gets a visit from Jimmy Smith's Miguel, telling him that when he chooses to become normal, when he chooses to go on a straight and narrow, to do things by the normal path, people around him die because of it. Like there's a lot of blood loss that occurs when he decides to take the normal path. Again, that's 2 thoughts for in his brain where he's saying, I need to become that badass Dexter again, that Dark Passenger, that bloodlust. Like, let me go knock some mugs out, because when I become soft or family oriented, I lose a step and I'm not the man that I once was back in the day. While he is seeing these visions, we see Harrison, who has fled to New York, the good old Great Apple, where you can hide and kind of become one with the many people of the city. And in these 10 weeks, he has sort of become adjusted to living and working at a New York high rise called the Empire, a new hotel. And he's doing babysitting and he's doing a lot of odd jobs for work for money. He's the guy that they go to at the hotel to sort of get things done. Like, oh, this guy knows this. I can get you some good restaurants. I can get your watch fixed. I can do everything. They go to Harrison for that. And he's using his name Harrison. I believe yeah, he's both Harrison and Morgan. So he's using everything. And for a while, he's going through the entire day. We see a spot and we're like, oh, Harrison's looking normal. Like everything seems to be good for him. He has gotten away from his bloodlust, his Dark Passenger, and he sort of has gotten away from the things that ails him with with his father, Dexter. That doesn't last long because there's a moment where he's going up an elevator and basically it freezes over and he has a premonition of his dad on the ice after he shot him. And he starts feeling a little bit apologetic, but he is still having thoughts and remembering of the murder of his dad. We then go back to Dexter, and his next premonition is Harry, um, and it's interesting because Harry sticks with him for the rest of the show, at least for these first two episodes. Harry has becomes a piece of the premonition that is now back with him, which is good because Harry was not in the New Blood, and so I think that sort of softened him. But now that Harry is back, maybe we sort of get some of the more focused Dexter that exists in the original series season. Dex says he feels like he failed Harrison by trying to make Harrison into a version of himself as opposed to just meeting Harrison where he was at. And then the last premonition is Dokes. Surprise, motherfucker. We get a Dokes premonition, and Dokes is saying, as much of an insane person as you are, Dexter, there's a slice of goodness within you. There's a kernel of it in there, and that is what needs to go and find Harrison and make sure that he's okay. Make sure that he comes out of all of this clean. Because if he's in trouble, you won't be able to sort of sleep with yourself, live with yourself, if you let him out there and you don't take care of him. So then Dex wakes up. That leads to Harrison going down a path that, yeah, Dex is going to need to come get him out of it. So Harrison at this hotel is a fixer. He does all the things, and one of the people that he helps fix gives him a watch. A man named Ryan, who's like a playboy. At this point, that's what we sort of label him as. Ryan gives Harrison a watch. Say, hey, can you get this fixed for me? So they already have sort of a rapport. While on his duties, Harrison meets a young lady named Shauna, who is from Iowa, young lady, just visiting New York on a retreat or some type of convention, and very naive. She goes to the bar, hangs out with Ryan, and ends up Ryan tries to bringing her to his bedroom drunkenly, and still being the person that's doing all the good things for the hotel guests and whatnot. Harrison sort of helps him to his room. But while he's doing it, he starts to feel a little bit dirty. He's like, I know this isn't what Shauna wanted. Like, this isn't why she's here. Like, this doesn't seem right. He overhears Shauna saying, like, no, I don't want this. Kind of like this. She is completely blacked out, clearly to the point where Ryan has drugged her. We learned subsequently that was the case. And so the white knight starts sort of clicking in Harrison's head. He does initially open the door for Ryan and Shauna, and then he goes away and he sort of hears like her saying, "No, I don't want this," and then he busts in the door, sees Shauna kind of in various degrees of undress, Ryan taking advantage of her, and after a bit of a back and forth, they fight, they tussle. Um, Harrison's about to leave. He feels like, "Hey, I've done enough. I'm going to take Shauna out of here and leave." But then Ryan says to him, "This isn't going to matter. Like, even if you take her, there's going to be there's going to be somebody else that I get a hold of, and I do this." Something to the effect like, "What you saving her ain't going to make that much of a difference. I'm going to do this again. There's going to be plenty more where that came from." And that sets Harrison off because Harrison then remembers Caldwell from the New Blood series, who basically had a whole bunch of women in his basement as trophies, and it triggers him back to that. And he grabs the lid of the toilet bowl and just cracks Ryan upside the head several times, killing him. Blood all over the place. It is a mess. And then once he regains his senses, he is like, "Oh crap, I gotta clean this room." So he tries to go about cleaning the room. He gets Shauna back to her room, and then he goes through the process of going downstairs to get the cleaning supplies to mix and make correct so he can clean the room, dispose of the body. He gets a cart to bring the body back down to the kitchen where he can then cut the body up in the way that Dexter taught him. We see a flashback of him remembering, hey, my dad said cut the pieces up into 9 parts and bag them up and do all this stuff. So He remembers some of the teachings that Dexter taught him. He bags them up. Uh, it- Harrison's on one. He just immediately goes from everything's fine to like I'm about to murder people like my daddy. I get it from my daddy. Everything seems to be clean. He seems to have gotten everything done. There doesn't seem to be any traces of blood at the in the hotel. Then we see a shot of on the ceiling. There is a one speck of blood spatter that's on the ceiling that gets left there. He takes the trash bags out to the trash, and then he has his moment to finally vomit because, like we saw in the first one, this isn't didn't seem to be for him. Um, but I think for him, what Caldwell was doing and what his dad had doing, he didn't have sort of the one-to-one connection that was far enough. But for saving Shauna, that was his message. Like, nope, this is the guy that I need to go ahead and break glass and end this dude. And once he killed him, he immediately went into fight or flight mode and was like, nope, Dexter time. Cut this mother up. Dex is going through PT back at the hospital and wondering, considering that things were the way that they were at the end of New Blood, and Angela was coming after him, who was the girlfriend of him, who then subsequently tried to realize that he was the Bay Harbor butcher and all that good stuff. Um, why he wasn't arrested? Like, why was he at a prison hospital? Like, he seems to be perfectly free and of his own accord. Something's not right here. And where the hell is Angela? And so then the deputy Teddy comes, that was also a part of New Blood, and he delivers a letter from Angela, and it has a photo of Angela and her friend that was found in the shrine that Caldwell had made. That Dex has finally solved that murder, and Angela says, "We're even. Now get the hell up out of here." Now that's a note. She's saying we're even because you solved this for me, and I'm not going to press charges. I'm not going to come after you for anything. Um, and she sort of has taken the blame for the shooting. She's like, I made a unjust shot. Dexter clearly wasn't the person. Basically, everything was taken off of Dex and put on her. However, she's telling him to get out of Dodge because she had already sort of set the fire for Angel Batista. She had sort of put him on this scent, and she knew that he was going to be in town. So she's like, "You need to get up out of here if you want to get away from Clean." But he's still in Iron Lake. She took the blame for everything. Dex is free. Dex is a good man, and to the point, so free, in fact, that Teddy asked, like, "Look, I've been sitting on this for a long time. If you want to press charges against the Iron Lake Police Department, I completely understand." And Dex is like, "Nah, I'm good. I think I'm gonna sit this one out." And Teddy's like, "Thank you, God." And so he's free to leave Iron Lake whenever he wants to on his own accord. He's good. Fortunately for Harrison, though, his bagging skills aren't the best. And so the bag rips, comes out a leg, another piece of the dismembered body. And so two detectives arrive on the scene, Detectives Wallace and Olivia. And she arrives to the trash heap and catches that one of the bag that the leg came out of has a certain type of knot on it. She starts tracking all the other bags that have that knot. Say that they came from the same place, and immediately find them all and put all the body parts together. And they immediately have Ryan ID'd, say that he was at the Empire Hotel, so that's where they're headed off to make their way to the Empire Hotel. They also clock that because of the imprint that was there and the tanning, that there was a watch that was no longer present, which is important because Harrison has that watch in his possession. Dexter makes it back to his room, and then Angel is there and meets him, and Batista hugs him and kind of is playing coy a little bit. He's playing possum with Dex. But Dex like, is this a hallucination? And Angel's like, no, this ain't a hallucination. He asks him why Iron Lake, why are you on the run, why are you in the hide? And Dexter comes up with the story on pretty quick on his feet to say, like, look, after Deb's death, which he explains to him what happened to Deb. After Deb's death and after Rita's death, I just felt it was best for me to get away. And he wanted to start over with a new name, so he went with Jim Lindsay. Angel says that I lost somebody too in all of this. Like, I lost you, Dexter, like my friend. Sort of putting the bait out, and reeling them in. Angel's in full detective mode at this moment. Um, he tells him that the funny thing about all of this is that Angela came to me right before you got shot and said that you were the Bay Harbor Butcher. And Dex kind of like, we had a very troubling relationship. And clearly she shot me. And he's like, yeah, and she took it all back, which is fascinating. And Angel's like, she's backtracked on all of that. So I guess it's fine. The one thing that's weird to me, Dex, though, look, Maria, you remember Maria? Maria LaGuardia also told me that you were the Bay Harbor Butcher. But then she died by a cartel. And Dex like, bullshit, it was Deb. But she's gone and no longer able to tell me about it. And so Angel's kind of like, there are two people who have told me that you are the Bay Harbor Butcher. So now, even if I thought I trusted Maria, like she was my partner, my best friend, like anything she said, I believed her, but she seemed like to have a dog on a bone. And we had already sort of said that Dokes was the Bay Harbor Butcher. But now if I have another person that's coming to me years away, years after, not associated with Maria at all, who also says that, something is afoot, literally. Dex is like, okay, I some Angel's onto something, and I need to get him out of here because I need to go check on Harrison. And so Angel's like, look, I'm going to come back to you tomorrow. I'm going to come back every day. I'm going to visit you daily because they say that you can have visitors daily. And then he takes off. But before he takes off, he does say, oh, real quick, I want to let you know, because you're alive, because you're here, because I know you're here, I've decided to legally resurrect the name Dexter Morgan. So you don't have to be Jim Lindsay anymore. You can now that you're here, now that you go back your life, you can go forth and be called Dexter Morgan. And Dexter's like, cool, thanks. Um, Let us know that your death certificate has been wiped and you are back amongst the living. You can go back to being off good old Dex again. And Dex is like, cool, I know why you did this. This isn't because you out of the kindness of your heart. You did this because you can't prosecute a dead person. I have to be alive. I have to be the legal person for you to prosecute me. Shoot. Okay, Angel. Well played. I see you. So the detectives make their way to the Empire Hotel. They're clocking everything. They're looking at the victim's room. Uh, Harrison clumsily makes himself noticed at the scene. Like he's just doing everything wrong. Dexter needs to get there fast, sort of clean up Harrison's mess. Um, while at PT the next day, Dex catches wind of the crime that occurred at uh, at the hotel. Learns of the disposal of the body and how it was cut up into 9 pieces in New York, and Dexter immediately knows that's where Harrison went. That's Harrison. I got to go. And so, and he learns that Ryan Foster was a sexual predator. And he's like, oh, my boy, picking up after me. Cool. I got to get there because he's learned some things, but not all of them. And I need to go get him before he gets into any more trouble. Because he's like, if the body's already been found, then he's got to get there quick because who knows how much other stuff he's effed up. If the body's been found this quickly, there could be some other clues that are going to lead to Harrison. He doesn't want that for him. So he leaves. Angel arrives, and he's able to give him the slip out. Angel's pissed. By the way, Angel is furious, like, well, son of a bitch. We're then introduced to Uma Thurman's character, who has more character and personality in this than she did in the entire film of The Old Guard 2. She's playing a character named Charlie, who seems to be a professional, I won't say burglar, but she's a professional handler for a person. I believe it's Peter Dinklage's character, but a professional handler for someone who seems to be bankrolling serial killers and giving serial killers a bankroll. And if they don't pay up or they don't give um, their mementos or their totems that they keep to this person, then she's going to come to sort of find them and put them in their place. But goes into an apartment to give an invite to a serial killer in this episode. Then we can see to New York that Dex finds Harrison immediately, sees where he's at. The next episode starts right after, it's called Camera Shy. We see the start of a serial killer that's sort of going to be on Dexter's eye. And so it's a serial killer who picks up him basically with our Uber cars. He is going after Uber drivers, which, and appears to have some sort of racial motivations to it as well. And yeah, he goes about that and disposes of them in a pretty god awful manner. We then see Dexter is looking at Harrison from afar. He's watching him. He's sort of clocking him. He's not letting Dex know he's there, but he's directing him and hoping to help him where he can in the shadows. He doesn't want to give on that he's there because he could just flee, and which would make his situation worse because the detectives would then be after him if they just saw him disappear. Um, Dex goes to look at the crime scene and see if there's anything that Harrison missed, but he's like, no, the boy did a pretty good job of cleaning this up. But while he's there, the detectives come back into the room. He goes into the closet to hide. Um, it's just funny. There's a moment of pride that Dexter has and seeing that there's no blood around. He's like, my boy, did I? Like, look at him. I'm proud of this little brown. He hears that the crime was a crime of passion and that it seems like there was an anger, like they see that the toilet bowl lid was used, and he's like, oh, he did this out of anger. Um, and that he realizes that Harrison was not as calculated as Dex has been, and that's why this job is done a lot more sloppily than I think Dexter would have wanted it to be. Dex also clocks that the detective is really good at her job, and so Harrison's going to have to be extra clean and extra specific to get out of this because this isn't your run of the mill detective that you're going up against. Dex makes his way down to the kitchen to see exactly where it is that Harrison did his chopping up at. After biding his time a little bit by ordering some dessert, he gets into the kitchen and sees that there's a blood spatter that Harrison left on the ceiling. He, he cleans it up, he grabs it, and then moves on. Angel meets with Teddy and Iron Lake to say, hey, can you put a notice on Dex's truck to see if it gets a ticket or pulled away or anything like that? If it does, let me know, flag it, and let me know where it's at. He then gets out of Iron Lake because there's nothing else. If Dex isn't there, there's nothing else for him to do there. We see Harrison having sort of night terrors about shooting his dad. Um, and then he decides to go out on the town with one of his friends, and he gets effed up. He's doing bumps, lines of coke. He's getting threw down, which I don't think is a good idea for somebody who has as much anger and a dark-ish passenger as Harrison does. Um, there's a moment where he actually does see Dex, but he believes he sees Dex in New York, but he just chalks it up as a hallucination because he has been having those. But he's on a bender. Dex, being new to New York, doesn't really know the parking rules and everything. His car gets impounded, and so he has to take an Uber, which he is then informed that the Uber killer exists because it sort of looked like something that like Dex looks like a person that would be fit the description of the Uber killer. And he learns that the Uber killer is going by the name of the Dark Passenger, which I immediately knew Dex was not going to be happy about that. But hey, I got that trademark. That is mine. You don't get to use Dark Passenger. In fact, I'm going to kill you just because you're using Dark Passenger. And lo and behold, that is sort of what he is going after. Is like, nah, I'm not a fan of that. That's mine. Figures like, well, if I'm here and this person is using that name, why don't I do a little moonlight and find out who this dark passenger person is and take them out? So he asked about how to go about ask the Uber driver how to go about getting into the driving scene. Um, it's interesting though, because because he doesn't have a full dossier on this person. He's going to quickly learn that it seems to be racially motivated too. So Dex, even if he's driving an Uber, probably would never get accosted by this person because it feels like all of his crimes seem to be towards people of color. But the driver, his name is Blessings, also invites him to a party to sort of learn more about the driving scene and sort of just, he's like, you're a good person. Come to this party. Back in Michigan, Charlie is meeting another person who sort of has not held up their end of the bargain with the serial killer bankrolling scenario that is going on. And so his name is Ken Kleber, Keith, and he's saying he's being cut off and unfunded and from the serial killer world or whatever the hell they have going on. And so um, clearly Charlie's boss has a thing for serial killers, and it seems like he is like, I'm going to fund these for you if you bring me back something from these kills. Charlie's like, well, you're cut off. And Keith is like, well, I'm going to go to the police. And she's like, what are you going to do? You're a serial killer. Good luck with that. And then she commences to beating the crap out of this guy. Harrison wakes up after his bender and finds finds the note that Dexter wrote to him in the glove compartment at the end of the New Blood series. And that sets him off anymore. So he decides to sell the truck. So now we're going to run into the situation where Angel finds the truck, but it's going to be so it's going to take him a little bit longer to get that to Harrison. But that's where the truck is going. And then Dex goes to Blessing's party and runs into Chicky, who was the person who survived the Dark Passenger serial killer. And he gives some clues and some tidbits about how he survived. And he learned that the Dark Passenger wears a hoodie that sort of can hide his face from a camera because it has infrared like UV lights on it, so that when a camera looks at it, you can look at him directly in the face and you can see him with your eyes, but cameras won't pick up his face. It hides his face. Otherwise, it's just like a washed out white dude in a hoodie, which could be Dexter. It could be. But he gives him the line that says, like, who's going to miss you when you're gone? Like, that's the line that he keeps saying to people when he's about to kill them. So that gives Dexter a couple of clues as to what to go by. Dexter also says that he doesn't have a place there, so Blessing overhears that and offers his, I believe, his basement as a co-op to say, hey, you can stay below. Dexter's like, it's a basement, but I'm also sharing with people. But this seems to be a good spot to sort of go through, hide in plain sight. He decides to take it because it gives him a legal address to have to do any type of legal business things. He's going to need to have a legal address to do the Uber stuff if that's just something that he wants to do. He wants to moonlight as a killer on the run in New York. He has to do that. We then see at the hotel, the Empire Harrison is seeing Shauna get asked for, like, brought in for questioning. And Harrison looks on nervously because he's looking on nervously, and because he was also stumbling outside of the hotel room originally. Detective Wallace clocks that and asks to speak to him as well. Dex does a little bit of digging and finds that Roland Schmidt is the name of the person who is probably the Dark Passenger. And he knows this because on his profile, he's the only one who does not have a photo. And so Dex seems to be on the hunt, seems to be calm, back in his element. He's doing his thing again. He finds Roland and sees his hood, and he follows him, and then he sees that his hood is on, and so he's in kill mode. And so Dex immediately, Roland goes up to a car and is about to get in, and Dex is like, hey man, this is my car. And so he stops him from killing that man, and then he sort of follows him down to a subway. He gets a clean look at his face, but he then follows him to a subway and loses him when he gets bumped, because basically he still is suffering from the injury that he took with the bullet to his chest. And so once he gets bumped, it hurts him enough that he loses focus and he loses the man. And then he just says, my kill table is ready for you, Roland. I'm going to find you. And that's how the episode ends. Fun. Dexter, it's like Dexter takes New York. Jason takes Manhattan. That's what we have here. And so a lot of threads that are in play here. We got Angel coming after Dex. Probably going to also find Harrison. We got Harrison being a sloppy Dex and not doing the job correctly, like Dexter taught him to do, or was able to completely teach him the ways of doing it. And Dex having to, one, I'm going to kill this Dark Passenger because he got my name, but two, I got to take care of my son because he's messed up and I got to get him out of this bind. Then you have one detective really, who's really good at her job. So the soup is sort of forming and making a lot of great stuff. And then we got Uma Thurman over here looking like a badass. And we haven't even met Peter Dinklage and his cabal of love for serial killers. And so I have a feeling that once Dex gets on his radar, or Harrison, who knows, one of the two of them may get on his radar, it's going to be interesting to see how Dex sort of infiltrates that cabal of his and has like a smorgasbord of serial killers that he needs to go ahead and kill off. What did you guys think about the first 2 episodes of Dexter Resurrection? Are we back? Does this look like we can't say we're back or we're not back. Like, Dexter is Dexter. And if you're either in or you're out at this point in time, but I had a really good time. What did you guys think about the first 2 episodes? Leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on X at Hollywood80i. You can hit us up on email at hollywoodalreadydidit@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name. That's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the place podcasts. We're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.